Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel today. We are finally going to do it. We're going to hit the comment section and we are going to address some of these comments. Obviously, we've been making a lot of videos about litigation that's been going on. And as we've been looking through the comment section, we're just realizing, there are some questions that need to be answered. So I want to get into this. We're going to run through a lot of these and I'm hoping this can help out. And remember, we want to keep these comment threads active. So as we're putting out these videos, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free, hit the comment section. Not only does it get your question to us that can maybe be answered, but it also helps with the algorithm to get these videos viewed by as many people as we can. Obviously, that is our goal, to get these videos out to as many people so that they can know exactly what is going on with their Second Amendment in California. So, Jacob, if you can pull these up, let's go ahead and dive right in. First one we've got from Pete. Who said SCOTUS remanded Duncan v. Bonta back to the Ninth, which punted it back to Benitez. Can Bonta appeal this back to the Ninth Circuit? Ultimately, yes. The answer is a lot of these lawsuits are probably going to go through the same cycle that they did the first time. I will tell you, though, the way that it's looking with South Bay Rod and Gun Club v. Bonta, which Gavin Newsom ended up taking over because Bonta said that he wouldn't be able to defend it. That one, as we saw on a video with Chuck earlier, is likely that it won't get appealed. But the other ones, yeah, I mean, Duncan and Boland, as well as the Rhodey case, you can probably expect for these to get appealed to the Ninth Circuit. Duncan as well as Rhodey for the second time. So we are expecting that, and it's strictly because of the Bruin decision. They just want to make sure that history, text, and tradition is ruled on that way. So that's something we can expect for that. Let's go to the next one. Kevo S. says, what do you think is the chance we get an injunction on Boland? I think the chance is good. If you're looking at a handgun roster through history, text, and tradition, we haven't seen a whole lot of that throughout history. I'm sure that the AG's lawyers are going to try and point out a lot of cases that don't actually apply to the Second Amendment. But the real question here is, if we get an injunction, will it be stayed? And that I think probably will happen. So regardless whether or not we get an injunction, if they're going to appeal it to the Ninth Circuit, it's likely that we get a stay on that injunction while it continues to be litigated in the Ninth Circuit. And we've seen them do it before. If they don't get the answer they want when they ask for an injunction from the federal district court, they can appeal to the Ninth Circuit for an emergency injunction. So that's something that is likely to happen if we get a good decision from the federal court on Boland. Let's see. Ron Crouch says, next step is Newsom's team will request a delay of several months to get his lawyers up to speed on this case. That way they can drag everything out even further so they can delay all the other cases as well. So this question was on our video that we did on South Bay Rod and Gun Club, which was the prevailing parties portion of SB 1327. And fortunately, the answer to this is that didn't happen. I was fortunate enough to be in the courtroom with Benitez when he was talking to Newsom's attorneys. He basically looked at him and said, hey, it's a shame that you've only been on this for a couple of weeks, but we've been dealing with these lawsuits for a couple of years. So it looks like Benitez isn't falling for these tactics on this one. He is holding them to the deadlines that he has, which I think he gave was about 70 days. So that did not get pushed out, and we're looking for a good ruling on the history, text, and tradition on those cases. So Gene K says, all fine and good, but who has the resources to hire an attorney to pursue a lawsuit? Basically goes on to say, the only way I'm going to pursue this is if an organization like CRPA takes the lead and a large group shares in the legal costs. So what Gene is referring to is the DOJ data leak that we saw the class action lawsuit come up and then go down. What we've been preaching on here for a while, which the deadline is now passed, was to get your government claim forms in. Essentially, though, CRPA is taking the lead on this. Not only have we been pushing out and provided examples for the government claim form, but we've also filed test cases. So along with those test cases is going to come discovery, and we're going to put out as much information as we can so that everybody has the information they need to pursue their legal damages with the court. And I also just wanted to say, everybody's damages are different. That's why we couldn't create a class action lawsuit for this. In order to have that class action, everybody's damages needed to be the same. Something that doesn't cost a lot of money is small claims court. I think it's like $10 to file at small claims court, and you don't even need an attorney. So what the government claim form was really doing is exhausting your legal efforts, according to the California government. And actually, as some of these rejection letters are coming in, I did want to point out, if you get a rejection letter from the state on your government claim form for that data leak, I think you have 6 months to file a lawsuit. If you get completely ignored and you go 45 days without receiving anything from the state, that's exhausting your legal efforts in a way that you will have 2 years to file a lawsuit against the state. So some people are already getting some of these rejection letters. I know the state's going to fight this as hard as it can, but just know if you get that rejection letter, you've got 6 months. If you don't get that rejection letter, you've got 2 years to file a lawsuit. Whether it's emotional distress or you can prove other damages, whether you're going to small claims court or you want to hire an attorney to go after more, you have multiple options. And again, CRPA, we're putting it on our website, has a test case that we're going to be trying to provide as much information on that as we possibly can. So, Lucky Flyer says, is there a reason to believe that an individual plaintiff should be successful against California when this other law firm decided to drop the class action lawsuit? Yes. I mean, people are successful in suing the state all the time. Again, the reason why you weren't able to create that class action is because the damages were so different. If you have a judge who has put people away for life, who is in fear of her life now because others might be coming after her, those damages could look a lot different than somebody who, is suffering from emotional distress. So we couldn't do the class action lawsuit, but we definitely have the means to be successful in court against the government, given whatever scenario you're in. I think it's most important to just stay tuned to the test cases as it works its way through the courts to see if it can apply to you. I've turned mine in. And I'll tell you, I am not one of those people who has put somebody away for life. But I am going to be watching the test case, and seeing what I can do with the information from discovery on that test case. So we're going to keep an eye on that. Sorry if I butcher this, but we've got Niall Stollard that says, so Chuck, could you let Gavin step in, provided that when he loses, he's personally liable to every gun owner in the state for attempted violations in their First and Second Amendment rights? I'm sure a lot of people in the community share this same frustration. It is unfortunate. You will see names like Bonta and Newsom on a lot of these lawsuits. But the fact of the matter is, our government provides qualified immunity for these publicly or elected officials in their capacity working for the state. So, those biases, those political lines certainly bleed through, but when it comes to suing somebody personally, this is something that our state and our federal constitution just do not allow for. They have qualified immunity. I would love to have somebody like Gavin Newsom personally liable for the harm that he's doing. Unfortunately, though, our system is set up to not allow for that. So we're going to continue and work our way through the courts and retain our rights. But, until that changes, which I don't see it changing, because then nobody is going to want to become a politician, we're not going to be able to do that. So Speed Bump says, thank you for the news update. Question. Why do I need the state's permission to carry a concealed firearm when the Constitution states that I have the right to self-defense and defense of my family when we're out shopping? That's our argument in a lot of these lawsuits. The fact of the matter is, though, is we have checks and balances in this state, just like we have checks and balances in this country. The check on the legislation is the court system. And I know that it doesn't move as fast as I or a lot of other people might want it to, but the fact of the matter is as long as we put in these anti-Second Amendment legislators, they're going to keep creating laws that are unconstitutional. And while you and I can definitely relate to the Constitution of the United States that says we have an inalienable right to keep and bear arms, if they don't feel that way, they're going to keep creating the laws that we're going to have to keep fighting, whether it be lobbying up in Sacramento or fighting in the court system. That's just kind of the way it is until we elect people who are going to hold those constitutional rights close to their hearts. We're going to continue seeing laws. And on top of that, the way that our system is set up, states have the opportunity to create laws that are finer in scope than the federal laws created. That's why we see, like marijuana being legal in California when it's not legal federally for the longest time. States do have that right, just like we have the right to ultimately appeal to the Supreme Court of the United States for laws that are unconstitutional. So we're going to keep fighting the way that we can, and we're also going to keep fighting to get some of these politicians in office that will actually share the values of the First and Second Amendment with their cohorts up in Sacramento. So we've got Alicia Warren, a light at the end of the tunnel that's going to take at least another 2 years of obscenely expensive litigation back through the Ninth Circuit to reach. So what she's referring to is the fact that these lawsuits got booted down post the Bruin decision to the federal district court. The only alternative to this is to give up. I guess I share your frustration. I'm sure a lot of people share your frustration in having to continue and fight these lawsuits in court. But we don't really have any alternatives to fighting. We're certainly not going to give up. It's unfortunate that the system takes a lot of time. It also takes a lot of time for other laws that we appreciate. The fact is we're going to continue and get good decisions. We're going to continue fighting so that we can retain our rights that are given to us by God. I think where we should put that frustration really is into the ballot box. That's where these politicians are susceptible. And like I said, we're going to continue and see these bogus laws until we even the playing field in Sacramento. So we're going to put that frustration into getting pro-Second Amendment legislators into office so that we don't have to spend years and years in court litigating these ridiculous laws. So we've got Bluegrass, who says, I was recently refused purchasing ammunition from a gun store. I had just purchased a new Glock, had all my IDs, California driver's license, FSC, pilot's license, vehicle registration, but I didn't have my birth certificate. Neither did I have my passport. They would not sell me ammo until I produced the passport or the birth certificate. This basically is why we have the Rody v. Bonta case. We saw a lot of people that were able to do their background checks and were able to purchase firearms, but they weren't able to purchase ammunition. This is basically, our plaintiff for the Rody case. I will also tell you, I would be curious, Bluegrass, to ask you where you tried to purchase the ammunition. We had a lot of issues with the real IDs. When the real IDs came out, I got a lot of people calling saying, hey, specifically, I went to Walmart and they wouldn't sell me, or they wouldn't even run my background check because I didn't have a real ID. This created a lot of confusion in the community because according to the state laws, you weren't necessarily required to have a real ID when purchasing or when running a background check to purchase ammunition or a firearm. This ended up being a company policy that Walmart came out with, and ultimately the reason why they come out with these policies is to make it as easy on their employees as possible. When you got a revolving door of employees coming in and going out, they have to train these employees. So if they were looking for something specific like a birth certificate, My guess also is that you could have just run into, maybe you were in a box store, and they had very specific forms of identification that maybe your mom and pop shop wouldn't necessarily have an issue working with because they're knowledgeable. So that ends up being the invisible hand of capitalism, though. So if they're going to require these specific things and you don't want to bring them, you can go to another store. So that might be the case there, is that could have been a specific company policy. If it wasn't, again, that is literally the reason why we have the Rody case and we're suing on that one. So Jared Peterson says, do these cases end with Judge Benitez's ruling, or can the state appeal to the Ninth Circuit again? Unfortunately, yeah, they can appeal these again. Like I said, you got the South Bay Rod and Gun Club with the fee shifting provision on SB 1327. It doesn't look like that one's going to be, well, it looks like that one potentially will not be appealed. But all of these other cases, yeah, the state's not going to want to let them go. You've got the Duncan case, the Rody case, the Boland case. You've got the assault weapons case. It's very likely that all of those cases will be appealed again to the Ninth Circuit. Then we've got Sarge, who says, is there anywhere I can find out what the real world effects will be if we win these lawsuits? And then he goes on to provide an example for Rody. Yeah, I mean, right here, let's just go through them. You've got the Duncan case. If we win the Duncan case, if you're a manufacturer, you can manufacture magazines that can hold more than 10 rounds. If you want to purchase them, you can purchase magazines that can hold more than 10 rounds. It will be legal to manufacture, purchase, import, and own and use magazines that can hold more than 10 rounds. To the Rody case, I mean, we would go back to the way things were before Rody, specifically on internet purchases. If you wanted to purchase ammunition from across the state lines, it would be legal to import ammunition, have it sent to your door. Also, you would do away with the background checks, which means there would be no fees to the background checks. So a lot of possibilities with or real world implications with Rody. You would be able to have ammunition sent to your door if we won that one. And then the Boland case, same kind of deal. If you can go back to before the roster, we would actually be able to manufacture or import firearms that are not on the roster, which means Californians would have some, we would have access to the wonderful new technology in firearms that these manufacturers don't want to go through the process of micro-stamping at the current time. So we would have access to all of those firearms that we currently don't. Let's go to the next one. So we've got Michael Sarkeesian. Sorry, Michael, if I butchered that one. What makes California qualified to test any firearms? So actually, like I was just saying, on the Boland case with the roster, I'm assuming that's what this question is referring to. Nothing makes California qualified to test any firearm. And actually, California doesn't necessarily test the firearms themselves. What California has done with the roster is basically create regulations forcing the manufacturers to test the firearms. Not only test the firearms, but also to put microstamping technology onto the firearms to make them suitable for California. But nothing makes California qualified to test any of these firearms. What they've done is they've created for the manufacturers. From BVB, Gavin is actually the Canadian Prime Minister. I guess this isn't a question. It is a comment, and for the sake of the comment section, I mean, if you're looking at both of them legislatively, there's not a whole lot of difference. Although, Jacob, you should put this graphic on the screen. If I would be hard pressed for anybody to disprove this. The only distinction that I can create from Gavin Newsom and the Canadian Prime Minister, who is Justin Trudeau, is that Trudeau is related to Fidel Castro, while Gavin Newsom is related to Nancy Pelosi. Both of them, communist tyrants in their own right. I challenge anybody to give me proof that Trudeau is not related to Fidel Castro. But really, that's the only difference I can think of. You know, they both want a lot of the same things. Trudeau has been on the warpath for a while, trying to ban as many guns as he can. I think they're even working on a carbon tax up there in Canada, but hopefully that one doesn't come to California too soon. But yeah, I don't see too many differences there. And then finally, how is it CRPA has only 7.2K subscribers? Is California that far gone? I'm not even a California resident, but I follow this topic. Well, you know, Road Tech at Large, thank you very much for following this topic. At some point, we're going to need help from out of state to fight some of these things, especially when it comes to presidential campaigns and stuff like that. I think the subscribers, that's a huge milestone that we're coming up on, guys. If you can share these videos, we are aiming for 10,000 subscribers, and we're hoping to hit it soon. That comes with the help of you, though. So please, if you can, like, share, and subscribe to this channel. We're trying to get as much of this information out as we can. As far as California being that far gone, I got to tell you, I have friends and family that are out of state, and they tell me that them and their neighbors sometimes view California as a different country altogether with the laws that we have. But that's why we're working, right? We're working to take back these rights that were stripped from us, that were given ultimately by God. So, I think there are a lot of instances where we're looked at as a different country, but we need to continue fighting in order to retain those things. So, keep up with these lawsuits and keep on track with CRPA, especially with the data leak from the DOJ. We're going to try our best, you guys, also to start answering at least one of these questions that we find in the comment section with every video. So please, if you want to keep that comment section healthy, we're going to continue looking at it, trying to answer all of these questions along the way. So stay tuned, and we'll hit you back with another one soon.